Should we start the show now?
Well, we could start the show. I mean, how come you never change your outfits?
Because I'm in my home studio.
I mean, okay. That's
Why
it.
do I need to change my clothes?
You don't sleep in that. I mean, you got up this morning, you took off your pajamas, and you put on this outfit.
Life is about the questions, not the answers. Okay. So my question is why are you bringing that up? Like all the people that didn't even notice, that didn't even pay attention to how I dress, because there's nothing particularly fashionably particular about how I dress, except for when I wear my mailman outfit.
They're just looking at your hat and your glasses. Anyway,
right, exactly. The rest of I'm like the invisible man. The rest is just invisible.
I saw on the news the other day, or I read something, or I heard about it, that Coca-Cola right now is funding. They're raising money to fund scientists right now to do a study that asks the question: why are Americans thinking so much about eating healthy?
Weird.
They want to know why Americans are thinking too much about eating healthy.
Well, maybe because they figured out the crap they've been eating all these years. It's like, wait a minute, this is crap. Mm-hmm. They're going to their doctor, like, doctor, I don't understand why I'm feeling this way. And the doctor says, I don't either. Take this pill.
Well, I think it's interesting too that's how the story started. Instead of showing that the story now is Coca-Cola funds scientists who shift blame for obesity away from bad diets. That's the whole story. That's the story. That's the title of the story.
When what we should really be looking for is a cure to our digestion problem that we've developed, that we acutely cannot digest all the processed crap that's actually being manufactured for us to eat.
Are you talking about some of your digestive issues right now?
No, I mean, if we had a pill that could make Doritos really, really nutritious.
Shoot through you.
Yay!
I get all the taste, but all the other stuff leaves you really quickly.
Right.
I think everybody would just sit in the toilet every day. I mean, if that was the case.
Wouldn't you take a pill that would make all the junk food you eat nutritious?
Yeah, I guess maybe I would.
How?
But that's not possible, and that's like magic.
Potato chips into power pellets. Are you kidding?
Into power pellets.
It's like anything is possible. That would be the greatest thing ever,
Good actually.
Grief. We've been to the moon. Anything is possible.
Okay. You put that on Indiegogo, and I'm all over it.
I would actually that would be fun to put on Indiegogo. That would go through the roof. It's like, this is our most funded event.
Right. And we spend 3 days going, I wonder how we're going to do this. Nope, couldn't figure it out, but we paid ourselves really well.
Not only that, but it's like our biggest funders would probably be like Kraft and like Cargill and like all these big, like, oh wait, they're going to make all the crap that we make, like people could digest it and eat it and be healthy. Yay! We can still make cheap food and bad and cheap, and then they'll eat it and it'll be good. Everybody wins.
There you go. We could do the fundraiser. We could work. You do fundraisers, don't you? We could do fundraisers, right? Could we do fundraisers?
Well, this is a fundraiser.
That's what I'm saying. But you could. But I mean, you've DJ'd fundraisers. I've DJ'd fundraisers, right?
I've done a lot of work with fundraisers.
Okay,
I've done a lot of work with nonprofits.
So have I, and I like doing it. But for the longest time, I didn't want to, because the first question they said was, are you available? We think you're awesome, and we have no money to pay you.
Right. So will you please come out of the kindness of your heart? Welcome to the Bill and Jason Show. I'm Jason Jones. That's Bill Hermann.
Hi.
Today we're talking about, you guessed it, fundraising and nonprofits, and working as an event professional with those folks.
Yep. And it's always, I can't pay you, but this is what I'm going to do. This is what we're going to do. Put your name on the flyer. Okay, we got a huge banner, but Bill Hermann Entertainment will be on there, and we'll talk about you as a platinum sponsor, just as long as you come and do it for nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. And by the way, your donation is tax deductible, which I thought for years was, until the tax man told me one year can't do that, which I think is one of the worst things about what we do. We can't give our services
there is a way.
Well, you got to cheat it.
If they give you a check and then you turn around and give it back,
right back to them. See,
then it is. But see, they don't like that, because then that shows up as an expense on their books, which then affects their percentage of cost to actual money raised for the event, even if it's coming right back.
Right. So it's not, can't even write it off. Everybody else who, I gave a T-shirt for your silent auction. You can write that off, but I give my services, can't write any of it off.
Right.
Terrible. It's terrible.
Right.
And I just stopped doing it for a long time.
So
forget it. I'm not doing a fundraiser unless it's for my sister, or somebody that I like and love. I don't have the time.
Right. Well, and I think that I also to speak to that is to really focus on, like, you do it for the ones at the price you're willing to do it for, or give it away to because you want to give that away. That's part of your philanthropic expression. That's part of your giving back. That's part of your balancing the universe, if you will, is in doing that. However, it can be lucrative, and they're a unique set of clients that are looking for a particular value that you can bring.
Absolutely, because they do have budgets, and they spend those budgets a lot of money on things that they value. They value the way it looks. They'll find a planner and a designer, and they're not giving out discounts, and they're putting out something amazing, but they value that, so they'll spend the money on that.
Yeah, consider like auctioneers at a gala. A cheap auctioneer is like $1,500 for the evening, and they do a 1-hour consultation before the event, and then they show up and they auction the stuff off for an hour.
They talk so fast you can't hear them anyway.
And then they're done, and it's $1,500 for that, and that's an inexpensive,
really inexpensive.
Yeah, and then we look at doing the whole event and things like that. Right. So in one aspect, you can bring a lot of value. Like I've brought professional fees in because I've used the entertainment experience, concepts of creating an experience so that the entire experience that people are there is conducive to the purpose, which is fundraising.
Right.
There's a lot of things that get done, that get thrown in and get that would be fun and that would be neat, but it doesn't actually bring in more dollars, or create an environment that's going to have people want to actually give more.
Correct.
So that's an area, but that's kind of like jumping into a whole another area and bringing another skill set. So let's talk about just DJing at doing music at a finish line for a fundraiser. I've had a client that I've worked with for it's a paid client, and I've worked with them for 14 years, doing the starting lines and the finishing lines for their events every single year. And there are all kinds of people that they could get to do it for free.
Well, and thinking like a fundraising group, and very often the fundraising groups, the last thing they think about is adding something to the background of what's happening, bringing in the music so that it changes the energy, or someone on a microphone who can hype the crowd. That's not something you're thinking about. It's like we created this thing and it looks beautiful. It's going to look great on television. And yeah, let's put some music. So you're not any more valuable than the fundraisers designer's father who has a boombox, okay, because it's just music, right? So then how do you communicate the value into what you're doing to be able to raise to make what they're going to create more valuable so that they make more money over the years? And that becomes the conversation. And it can be just I'm playing music, but how do you now communicate that? Or you're just playing music?
Sure. Well, no, music is, in my experience with this particular client and other clients that I've done with the athletic events is, and usually there's always, music brings energy and excitement, and having a DJ at these events is not, unusual. Right. Having a DJ that they feel is bringing a lot of value, or they're not just going to find somebody else that's going to be cheaper just to bring it in to have the music element is another thing. So what else to bring? And the really is the point of view of what is the objective of where you're at. We start talking about what do you want people to feel and experience, and then that's what you're speaking to on the microphone. Right. So, example, when I do the finish line, one thing that's really important is to keep people cheering in those people finishing that athletic event, okay? Right. So is to keep the crowd there, keep them engaged, keep them entertained. My role is really not to entertain the people finishing or even the people that are completing the event or going in for lunch. It's actually to entertain the people cheering at the finish line so they will stay there longer to be able to give everybody an experience of being cheered in. And then there's the other layer of level is getting on the mic.
But you also didn't come up with that purpose on your own. You did that by collaborating with your client to find out what was important to them about what was happening at that finish line.
Sure. The key question is, the key question is this: what do you want? They said, well, we want music for at the finish line. when people are completing the race.
Right.
And I say, awesome. What do you want them to experience?
Right.
What do you want them to feel?
Right.
And when you start talking about what do you want participants to feel, now you're actually getting somewhere to guide you as far as what to talk about, what to do, so that what you're doing is speaking to purpose.
Right. And within that same question always comes out, why are you doing this? Why do you want that? Because if you understand that, then you now become something that is, like everybody else is there working towards the purpose. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't the DJ be? Why wouldn't the sign guy be? Why wouldn't everybody involved? Very often the vendors come in and they just kind of get plugged in, and because they don't ask why. They just, okay, I can put a sign up. Oh, no problem, a balloon arch. Oh, music. Okay, whatever.
I need this. All these things are checked off. Now they should just work together.
Right. And just asking what that is, what they want them to feel, and why it's important to them already makes you way more valuable than any vendor who never asked those questions.
Yeah, I mean, I recently just took on actually a new nonprofit client. I'm really excited to do. It's a 10K, and went through a whole battery of questions around like the kind of what they want their participants to experience, what do they want the environment to, and they're just like, they're looking like they'd never even really thought about it. Well, I don't think they really had.
No, and I think most people don't.
No.
Most people, heck, you do a lot of fundraisers for like the VFW or something, and they're raising money for somebody who's sick, okay? And they just take the what's the list of ingredients that everyone does at a fundraiser? Okay, we're going to have all these tables, and we're going to have a silent auction. We're not sure how it's going to work, but we're going to set it all up. We're going to have a silent, and you're going to have a spaghetti dinner, and you're going to pay for that. And then you got to come in and buy raffle tickets. So we'll have all the ingredients. So it looks like every fundraiser you ever go to, mm-hmm. and you come into it seeing every fundraiser you've ever seen, and you came in with the $5 you were going to give, and try to have a little fun talking to people. But if you don't really find anything, you might accidentally forget and bring your $5 home, because that's the way they happen. That's the way they always happen. I haven't been to many fundraisers that didn't happen almost exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. And within that conversation that you brought now shows that if we structure what you do, the guy on the microphone, the guy with the loudest part of the day, can now move people towards something. Now we can see that $5 comes out of their wallet, and another $5 or another $10 or another $150 mm-hmm. because you made sure that everyone came through the room, understood the reason, purpose, and why they're going to leave with an empty wallet and have an awesome time.
Or even if they've already made their contributions and they're being acknowledged for it. Correct. As they're coming in, mm-hmm. and they had the experience of being really fully acknowledged as they cross the finish line, or as they're standing at the finish line, or being reminded of what the purpose and the cause is and why they're there and why it's happening. I mean, all that needs to be like recreated constantly at these events,
right?
To be able to drive this point home, because our minds drift. We get like focused on just like, oh, it's a bike ride or it's something other than
I'm just cold in the rain. I want to go home.
Then what that is, and so when you are then addressing those things, and then you're speaking to those things. When you're thinking about what am I going to say, what am I going to do, then you'll start getting feedback like, right. I loved being acknowledged. I love what you create at the finish line. I love whatever, like that. It goes beyond just like, hey, great music.
Right. Well,
there's nothing wrong with great music. That's terrific, but that has a certain amount of value. And then when you're generating an experience for people, because you're framing and creating it, because you have the microphone, that is a whole nother level of value that brings, that becomes really important for that event every single year.
Absolutely. And as you communicate this to a new nonprofit about what you might do and what might be different, part of that communication has to be, if I do this stuff that's different for you, you will see this result. There'll be a new result. And one of the best results that you do with the thing that you do, that finish line, is that acknowledgement that they get each time gets those participants to want to be a part of it year after year after year. So not only are you mm-hmm. having this impact on the moment, but you're having an impact on the next event, on the next time they ask these people to participate and bring their money and their fundraising to the thing. So that's a conversation you're having with the client, the fundraiser, well before the event, because mm-hmm. what you do affects every little bit and every moment and every dollar that's brought in. And when you're talking dollars, you're talking about how you impact things. Now it brings dollars and more participants and more people to give money into the event. Now you're just a no-brainer. of course they would have you,
Right,
as
it
opposed to
becomes-
just have music.
It becomes an essential. Then it's like what you're doing and how you do it becomes an essential part of how it's going, and then therefore value.
Which is why for almost
present.
15 years you've done that event.
So and and I really must say that I really learned from the MS Society. I really learned something really really important about just fundraising events, especially the athletic ones,
Right.
like bike rides and that sort of thing, is that one of the things that brings back, say, half of the people, because they'll have like their bike ride, their 2-day ride will have 3,000 riders every year. It's really, really huge.
Right.
Okay. And the actual number of people that is affected is like 17,000 people that
Correct.
is affected by this. Isn't like cancer or something that is, hugely broad. However, what they've done really, really well is they've really looked at creating an experience for bikers. So they've tapped into an interest. And so there are half of the people that ride that ride are not necessarily riding it for the cause. They get pulled into the cause because they're a part of an event that has drawn them in and drawn them like, this is important and I am like really
Right.
making a difference this way. But they were first brought into it because they love to bike and it's a great ride. It's super supported. Everything is taken care of. They have a great experience. Everything is handled for them. I mean, it's like a 5-star supported
It really is.
bike ride. It is, and they've kept that consistent. And people come back, I'm going to do that again because they have such a great experience on the ride. Just an incredible experience. And so it's not always just about, but don't you feel for the cause? You're only going to get so much results with that. But if you look beyond, like, what community can we tap into around an interest, around something, and then draw that larger audience, because then it gives you an opportunity to draw them into the cause.
Right.
Or even if they're just coming back for that experience,
That's
you're
true.
still raising $1,000 more that you wouldn't have if you didn't create this experience that it speaks to that interest. So
Right.
looking at the multiple interests.
Well, and looking at what
And
we're doing
that was
as-
just like an aha experience for me with them.
Well, and we're looking at what we do is creating experiences, which is what we talk about in the entertainment experience. And even without that, I mean, I think we touched on it at the beginning of this whole conversation is that, remember, you can give away what you do for nothing to your family, okay, to your favorite cause or whatever that is. But it isn't completely expected as a business person to actually give what you give for free.
Right.
Okay. You do have expenses. You do have your profit margin is part of what you need to make, because once again, our only inventory are the dates. You give away a date that you can't work on, then you're deciding what discount you're going to give them, because you're not going to do a wedding that day as well, or another party. You're going to do just this. So what are you willing to do? And oftentimes, if you can just look at the business end of it, you should be at least be able to make that minimum expense. But I can't feed my kids on a minimum expense. I still have to profit in there. And it doesn't make you a bad person because you look at the Cancer Society and say, what I have is very valuable, and I can show you how valuable it is if you want to have the conversation, but it is in its market, then I charge this much money for it. Just like the person who's going to design it, just like the decorating person, just like the caterers.
And just like nonprofit it's a business.
It is.
It's a business where they, instead of profiting an individual owner or a group of owners, that profits a cause.
Right.
And it just goes to there. And there's a cost to doing business for the nonprofit.
There is.
And they invest in those things that create the most value for them to move
And this doesn't make-
raise money for their cause.
This doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make you bad. It's just very often the DJs I talk to are they're like, oh, I got to do this thing. And if I didn't do it, it's like they said yes to it, but they're like, oh, well, it's because they decided that if they said no, they're going to look like a bad person. So of course I'll do it I'm just going to be sitting at home. I might as well work really hard and bring out my stuff and put a little more hours on it, because I'll do it for nothing. But then you feel bad about it. That's the one I'm worried about, is that you feel bad. If you're going to do it, feel great that you're doing it.
Right.
Or get paid so you can feel great for doing it.
Or give it away because it matters to you.
Right.
And that's what you're contributing to that cause and making a difference.
Exactly.
That
So
we all have to give in the world to make a difference there. So
what do you think about this, and what has been your experiences? And have you been struggling with this, or do you have no problems? Are we talking about a subject that doesn't matter? Let us know. You can write about it in the comments. You can send us an email. You can like us on Facebook and tell us there. You can look at our Twitter feed and like us on there. And do me a favor. Tell a lot of people about our show. We've done this now for how many years? forever, and we'd love to have it more. We'd love to have more of you listening and have a bigger impact. So if you like the show, tell somebody.
Yeah, go ahead and share it. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Broadcasting from high atop planet Earth at a rate of 96 kilobytes sampled per second over the interweb in an effort to stop glorifying being busy. This has been an entertainment experience production.